So, we're going to do the same kind of thing that we've been doing. We're going to do it one more time where we look at another kind of 3 set of questions. And if that first little trilogy we called kind of core discipleship questions, this one I would call maturational questions. So our questions are going to be what's fun, what's stuck, and what's next. It's already been declared that, you have got a Hoosier slide there in the handout that made everybody think of the basketball game. Please stay with me. But I think many of us know people for whom high school or college was the best 4 years of their life, and they just never got over it. I mean, in this picture, Shooter, who's right over the shoulder of Gene Hackman, was the epitome of that example. He was the high school star. He missed the big shot. He could tell you all about running the picket fence. Don't get caught watching the paint dry. Somebody help me out. You get that reference there. And when those 4 years of his life was over, he couldn't move on. And again, movie is set in a small town, maybe has a special place in my heart. So I come from Bardwell, Kentucky. Bardwell, Kentucky is in Carlisle County. We were the Comets. In 1983, the Carlisle County Comets were the Indiana Hoosiers. We made it, not me, but like I am one of us, so I speak as if it is us. We made it to the state championship game. We made it into overtime. The center for that team, his name was John Tyler. He was my high school basketball coach. Just before overtime, he had 2 free throws that had he made those free throws, we would have won the state championship as one of the smallest schools in the entire state. The key word in that previous sentence was if. And because the key word was if, a central part to every basketball practice I ever had in my high school career was shooting free throws so that none of us ever missed the free throws he wished he would have hit. But one of the key lines in that movie, you have the Gene Hackman character, and he is trying to recruit Jimmy Chitwood to come and play for his senior year. And he's there at the goal. He's trying to talk to the teacher who was Jimmy's basically foster mom, getting him to come to the team. And the coach is just saying how much it would mean to the town and all of this. And the teacher says, God's come pretty cheap in this town. That, for these years of his life, he could be the basketball star. I'm interpreting a little modern era. He could go to a small college and play ball and probably disrupt the type of dreams that he has for what that would mean for his vocational future. She's like, the better path for him is if he sticks to his studies and doesn't do the basketball thing. Now, all of that to say, we're asking this set of questions because I want you to fully embrace the season of life that you are in. So much of where life gets disrupted is when the season behind us means more to us than the season we're in or the season in front of us. That's a maturational problem. I want to thoroughly enjoy every season of life so much that I grieve when that chapter comes to an end. And I want to grieve that chapter so that I can embrace the next. And if we are going to be thriving human beings who fulfill the potential and the callings that God has on each of our lives, I think that's a really important part of the process. If you look at that next slide, there is a distinction that is made by Luke as he describes young Jesus. And I think what I'm describing here is at least an implication of the passage. We could do other things with it. It says that when Jesus grew up, he grew in favor with God and favor with man. He grew in ways that were discipleship-oriented. He grew in ways that were maturational-oriented. I think it's important for us to grow in both. Like if we just pause for a moment, do we know some people who are super theologically astute and equally socially awkward? Please do not point fingers. Okay, we don't need to do that. We're not that close family yet. Did not come to cause trouble here. And do we also know people who are incredibly talented and their level of maturity from a social savvy or a vocational standpoint is exceptional, and they are spiritually shallow or compromised? We do. Like there is a need to grow in both areas. Again, I use a sports metaphor from time to time, but I remember way back in the day when I was a high school ball player. It's my senior year. We were playing Graves County, which is just outside Mayfield. Who knew Mayfield? Okay, Graves County, close by. And I was up, runners on first and second, one out. I'm supposed to get a hit that would tie the game. I hit a ground ball to shortstop. It's a double play. I'm trying to beat the play out. I severely twist my ankle. It's my senior year. I don't want to miss a whole lot of the season. I am going to the doctor, like, what can we do, make it better? And they're like, you need some rest. Here's some exercises. I do the wobble board and all the things. And eventually, I go back to the doctor. They do whatever testing kind of things that they need to do. And he looked at me. And he said, stop limping. It's like, that's not nice. I prefer nice. Like, let's do that again. No, but I was confused. I was like, why? And he's like, we've tested it. Your left ankle is as strong as your right ankle. But if you continue to baby it, then what you're going to do is you're going to strengthen your right ankle to such a degree that it's going to leave your left ankle weak. And when you're on the field of play and you need to make a maneuver, your right ankle is going to be able to put your left ankle in a compromised position. And it's only going to be in that moment of reaction that it happens, and your left ankle is not going to be able to hold up. That's kind of what we're saying here. Our discipleship and spiritual maturity does not need to exceed our relational and emotional maturity to such a degree that a strength or weakness in one area results in a compromise in the other. Because again, we see plenty of times where strength in one area will raise somebody to a level that the weakness in the other area just results in a compromise. The kinds of things that we're about to talk about, I think they really help with that. So, what's fun? My advice to you here, don't be lazy with what's fun. maybe a better way of saying that, don't be mindless with what's fun. Like, what's fun is where most relationships start. You're doing what you do that you enjoy with people who also enjoy what you do. You're around one another for an extended period of time. One conversation leads to another. And you kind of get to a level 1, level 2 on almost all of these questions that we're talking about. So often we get so consumed with just the fun that we're having that we miss the intentionality to make it constructive. So here, this is like, it's intentionality that moves us from acquaintances to friendships. That acquaintances tend to be seasonal. Look, back in the day when I was coaching the boys, there's a group of dads I was around every spring and fall. There's a different group of dads I was around every winter. I was with my baseball families and my basketball families. And when we would see each other, man, we'd catch up, we enjoyed each other, we'd be at the games, we'd do a little barbecue at the end of the season, and then see you next season. Again, I'm not against acquaintances. That was really sweet. I enjoyed it. When we bump into one another around town, we want to know, hey, how's Trevor doing? How's Ruth doing? Like that's acquaintance. Friendship is when you value the relationship and you start to get intentional. Again, acquaintances, we value the activity. In friendship, we value the relationship, and that prompts us to find ways to spend time together and invest in that relationship, even when the activity is not the most interesting part of it. So again, when I am doing marriage things like this, one of the questions I ask between spouses, what do you enjoy simply because it's important to your spouse? What do you know more about than you should simply because it's important to your spouse? Now, my wife is crafty. I don't mean that in the negative sense of the word. She likes to do crafts. She cross stitches. I can tell you a whole lot about Michael's and where the cross stitch thread is, and like whatever that little, I don't know what you call it, but it's the kind of fabric that you use that you do the thing with, and where she got the pattern and who she's making it for. My wife loves history. I can tell you an awful lot about World War II era history simply because she enjoys it. I like the fact that my wife likes old things because that works in my favor. Like as I become old things, there is a whoo, like this is like, honey, I'm vintage. But there's a lot of that that I know about, not because it's that interesting to me, but because it's interesting to her. My wife can tell you an awful lot about Little League skill progressions. She can tell you about pitch grips and the way that they protect the arm. She can tell you a little bit about biblical counseling controversies simply because she's married to me. In our friendships, that's not just a marriage thing. When we bestow the honor of interest, of attention, of enjoying something through your eyes as you enjoy it, that is moving from acquaintances to friendships. And for my money, you know who does this better than anybody else on the planet? Grandmothers. the just innate ability that I am going to give absolute attention and be enthralled to whatever it is that those grandbabies are doing and that they enjoy. All I'm saying is do that with your friends. Give that kind of immersive, selfless interest, counting the interest of others ahead of our own, in such a way that I feel honored and known and cared for, and that as, again, this is a great place that if you're wanting to influence somebody, like the illustrations that you would draw from, this is one of the reasons I chose, partly because I enjoyed it, it was one of the benefits maybe of choosing to coach my boys' ball teams, especially our younger son. Like our two boys are very different. Remind me the point of the story is why I coach. But this is the same day in the life of our two boys, and it is the quintessential difference between them. This was very beginning of the school year. Our younger one would have just started kindergarten, so the older one would have been in second grade. If you've got young kids, you know that first week of school, you are exhausted. We are upstairs, we're getting ready. It is end of the day, we're running on fumes. Our oldest son, who is the most relationally and emotionally intelligent child I have ever met. Like his current girlfriend, before he was her boyfriend, he was her listening friend, which is boyfriend in waiting. But we're up there, we're getting ready, and he looks at my wife, who's just threadbare. And he says, "Mama, is that your tired voice or your in love voice? Because when you're exhausted, you talk like this, and when you're in love, you talk like this." And I was like, "Sweet boy, that's her in love voice." And so now, whenever my wife is tired, I'm just like, "That's your in love voice, isn't it, honey?" And she smiles even though she's tired. Earlier that same day, it was pickup line, it was kindergarten. Our younger son gets in the car. My wife asks the obligatory question, "How was your day?" He says, "This boy on the playground, him named Travis, he hit me." "What'd you do?" "I took care of it." I mean, the boy went dark. I mean, Jack Bauer, 24, dark. I was like, "Is Trevor going to be at school tomorrow?" "Yes." "Okay, good." We asked the teacher, like, "Yeah, this is Trevor's third year in second grade or kindergarten." And so he probably needed to be taken care of. But with a son who was that, matter of fact, you didn't get to see his heart as much. It was just a little more reserved. Investing in the things that was important to him was a huge part of those moments when he was grappling with something that I could get in. And so that was investing in what's fun, because the car ride home from a bad game was worth everything. We'll talk about one of those car rides a little bit later. That's called suspense. One of the things I would challenge you with when you're in that, just exploring what's fun, being intentional, not being mindless with that, when you find somebody that you're like, "We click. I enjoy spending time with you." DTR. Do you DTR? Is that still a thing? Anybody? Not a thing? I like the fact that you let me know what is and is not a thing. Back in the day, if you liked somebody and you just didn't want to sneak a date, you had to define the relationship. You had to declare your intentions. That in friendship, So often we just kind of assume it's supposed to happen. Like, tell somebody, I enjoy hanging out with you. I respect you. I think you have the kind of character of somebody that I would like to be a friend. Can we be friends? Like, especially when you're in a leadership role. And so many people know you because of your title, not because of your name. That kind of thing becomes important. So that's what's fun. Next question. What stuck? As a country boy, I am an expert at ruts. I know a lot about ruts. We had them all over the farm. If you drive the same truck down the same dirt road every day, year after year, decade after decade, you're going to get you some ruts. That when we're saying what's stuck, we're talking about the ruts of our life. Here's what is really important to me that you understand. Ruts were good. If ruts weren't good, we wouldn't repeat them. But we tend to repeat them until they become lifeless. They become faded like colors on a drape, or expired like milk. Ruts begin to get a negative emotional return on our investment. That happens in every area of our life, and we don't need to freak out about it. Like, I remember being a young Christian, and daily quiet time was like awesome. And it was just like, oh, like Bible lottery ticket, just turn anywhere. And it was great. And then that became like banging on a piano where there was lots of notes and no song, no melody. And I remember reading through a book of the Bible as a whole, getting a unit of thought. That was a way to break a rut. So that was a great way to study my Bible for a while. And then that started to feel like doing book reviews. Just after a while of doing it that way. And then somebody showed me one of these read through the Bible in a year plan. Oh, you can read 4 different places, get a bite. You're still getting different sections, but it's a little fresher that way. And that was fine for a while. And it's that started to feel a bit lifeless. It was a season where it's hey, the internet came along by that point, and you could just copy and paste into a Word document an entire book of the Bible, double space it, kind of give it some thick margins. At that point, I felt weird writing in my Bible. That felt like sacrilege kind of thing. It's just where my conscience was. And so, but yeah, you gave me on a piece of notebook paper, and I could just highlight and write questions. That brought life. I mean, those of us who have been married for an extended period of time, you get into ruts. You're we just kind of do the same thing, have the conversation same way each time. We hit a rut. We get into areas of ministry that we really like, and then we kind of go into that thing where we're doing it the same way each time. We do that with our exercise routines. For a while, you got a new routine, you really like it, and then you kind of hit a rut, and that usually leads to a plateau. That's a whole nother thing. But if in our mind, if we go back to where we started, if we say a rut is not good, therefore it must be bad, what do we do when we sense the lack of return on investment in a rut? We start to feel guilty. We start to treat a rut like it's bad. If we do that, we're going to tend to hide and pull away. When we call it a rut, we go, okay, this is a time for grief and gratitude. Oh, that did serve me well. really grateful for it, and that should spark creativity. Like that's what was happening with kind of that Bible study example that I gave. Like you hit a spot where you're like, this used to be really life-giving. It now seems like it's kind of dry. Let me be creative. Hey, we've done the same date night routine for a while, and it used to be a lot of fun, and then it's now just what we do, and it's kind of become a business meeting and just a meal that we don't have to do the dishes. What would it look like if we take that to mean, man, I feel like our marriage is dry and lifeless, versus like, let's be creative. Part of the reason of designating rut is those good things that we do in habituated ways that become disciplines and routines. They do have a habit or a tendency to become dry and lifeless. That's not bad. It's one of those things where if we're honest with our friends, we're like, hey, this is an area. Used to be a little more like bold and in color, and now it feels like it's getting a little drab. How do you approach that? And it gives us the opportunity for creativity, conversation. Again, big deal there in my opinion. So what's next? Here, I want to do the 5 levels thing again. And I want you to think about you. I'm going to draw a few illustrations. Like I may draw some personal ones or different things like that to illustrate. But I want you thinking about you through these. Surface level. What are the dreams that got you here? Most people are excited to answer that kind of question. Like if you ask me, what are the dreams that got me here? Well, initially it was fishing with my dog, and then it was baseball, and then for a brief time it was computer games, and then youth ministry, counsel. Like I can take you through those different dreams in the season of my life. Like these are the things that I was passionate about. Again, a spoofy way that I talk about that. Like, what's your Tarzan testimony? You know how Tarzan would just go through the jungle swinging from one vine to the next? What was that vine that just like was moving you in the different seasons of your life? Like you'll get to know a lot about somebody. And usually they'll enjoy everything they're telling you as they talk about it. Because it's fun to reminisce that way. What dream are you working on? Like what's that thing that you're invested in right now that when you get the chance and some free time and you can pour it into something? What is that? You want to know a great way to extend that towards a deeper friendship? Tell them you'll pray for it. Actually pray for that thing that they are working on and follow up later and ask how it's going. Again, this is not hard. It just means I remember what's going on. I commit to pray for it. I show interest into it. What dream is fading? This one's sad. That's why it's a little more vulnerable. Told you I was going to tell you about one of those car rides home. Our younger son was a pretty good ball player. And so when I was coaching that age group of his team, we played high-level big boy baseball. About 10 of my athletes that I worked with in his age group are playing college baseball at some level. One of them was drafted straight out of high school. So you want to get humbled? Have an 18-year-old that you coach get drafted out of high school, make more money on first day out of high school than you will make in your entire adult life. Briggs McKenzie, 4th-round pick, overslot value, Atlanta Braves, left-handed pitcher, 93, 95, vicious curveball, would not listen to me about a changeup because he didn't need it. But like our son, he played at that level. He belonged on the field with those guys. As a high school freshman, he was on that brink of being a Power 4 recruit. He's a left-handed pitcher. He was throwing 80, 81, like it was going well. Worked hard. Like I never made a workout chart that young man did not enjoy. It just, there were a couple of injuries with his back, a couple of mechanical adjustments that it was, you could see it was tanking. So after junior year, we were coming back from a tournament down in Charleston, South Carolina. The year before, he threw 7 innings, no earned run, 1 unearned run, get us to the championship game, perfect game, player of the tournament. It was kind of his field. It was so ugly. Like you just saw him out there. He couldn't find the control. He couldn't find the velocity. This wasn't an off game. This was a wake-up call. It's a 3.5-hour drive from Charleston, South Carolina to Raleigh. We spent at least 45 minutes to an hour of that just silently, him staring out the window, me going, just keep your mouth shut, he'll talk in a minute. And that was the point that he was embracing, that this wasn't going to be the path for him. From the time he was 9 years old, that had been an aspiration. He had done the work. His body just kind of let him down. And getting to be a part of that conversation, getting to be a part of that moment of grief when a dream that was fading, he was coming to grips with that. And being able to say, I admire the self-awareness and the courage of what you're saying, but I hurt for you because you've done the work. And that, again, do they always correlate this way? But part of being willing to forego that dream is what allowed for the dream in the next season of life. It's where he had to push himself. What am I going to do after baseball? Which is a great question to ask. And at this point, he wants to be a vet. He got much more involved in various things. He's got this really cool little internship thing he's doing right now in my wife's hometown, East Tennessee. The kind of person who was lead volunteer over the youth group when my wife was in youth group happens to be a vet. He's living on their family farm, doing large animal work 1 day a week with the cow, small animal a couple of days a week at the clinic, knocking out his JUCO hours, fishing the Nolichucky whenever he's not occupied with other responsibilities. Everything we can tell, he is fulfilled. He's enjoying life. His teammates that are doing things that he still kind of wishes he got to do, he can talk about it. He's not choking back the words. He's not resentful. He's not avoiding the conversation. He goes to their games because one is at a college nearby that, I go check when Bryce is playing. He'll let me know how Sam is doing and the different ones. And it's like, that, again, if we want to do one of those, Marshall, come here. Bud, that's exceptional. That is mature. This is one of those points where life could have absolutely got locked down in regret. And you gave it everything you had for as long as it made sense to give it. And when it was time to put it down and pick something else up, you did. and the work ethic that you showed for those years, they're going to serve you well in everything else. But do we have people in our life? Again, for my wife and I, next season of life is empty nest. People still promise us we're going to enjoy it. It's just quiet. There's a lot of freedom, but of asking some people, like, what did you all do? Like, what was that transition like for you? Those are the kinds of things when you have freedoms across, or you have relationships across generations, you get to learn from other people's trial and error. That's part of being in the body life of a church. And so level 5, what's the dream that you're afraid to say out loud? What is that thing that is on your heart? Teacher, this has been a burden. This has been a burning thing there. It's always just felt a little awkward to say it. If I can be slightly bold, I can almost make you a promise. If you don't tell anybody, it's not going to happen. You know, when you say, hey, I don't know if it's possible or not, but I really feel a sense that I believe God would like for me to, that He's laid it on my heart, that He has gifted me to, blank. Well, at that point, you got somebody who can pray for you. Again, for our older son, one version of that, not all that in the spiritual domain, but he was like, I think I'd like to be a pilot. Nobody in our family is a pilot. That's kind of a bold thing just to lay out there. Well, son, you said it. So for your 16th birthday, you're getting a flying lesson. And then, we look into some things. Your school, you can do an internship at the air traffic control tower. And so for a semester, he'd spend his last class period out there just getting a feel for that. Have you ever talked to a pilot? Like, we know a couple around the church. Talk to them, get a sense for what it's like. Let's visit a few schools. Like, when you say something out loud, you may decide, like, that's not the thing. But you got support, you got options, you got people praying for you, coming alongside, spurring on. That if we have relatively superficial relationships, we're probably not going to share those things into shallow relationships. Like, if I could share with you, like, part of the burden for my heart, I want to see churches across our country and churches across the world have sustainable lay counseling ministries that fit the local church. That's what this entire church-based counseling series is about. Transformative friendship. I want to see, even where it's not a formal counseling ministry, that the relationships within a church are transformative. That generations of people that I never get to meet say, my church was a family. That there were people in your lives that are like Pat and Leland King in my life. I want you to be people like Pat and Leland King in the lives of other people in this church. And I set out on that 3 or 4 years ago. And in ways that, like, it felt ostentatious to say that. And right now, these materials, they're being translated into German, into Spanish, into Portuguese, that the opportunity that those cooperations are within church planning networks. in terms of working with cultivating community within churches and part of their strategic outreach for new church plants. Like that's exceedingly abundantly more than I could have asked or imagined. Kind of the translation partner in that. It's become a friend from Germany. His name is Victor. German was kind of the first unprompted version of that. And as he saw this happening, he was like, man, were you trying to do this? Like, no, I longed for it. I didn't have any idea how I'd make it happen. But I did share with people what was on my heart and what I thought I wanted, what I would love to see accomplished with my life. And I think it took a shape. And some of it was folks like my friend David going, if you do this, don't make it a program. That friend making that kind of statement is another friend named Ed, who, when I first came to Summit, like the value of groups for like what counseling could look like in churches, like he was the first one to really impress that on me. Wasn't kind of a prompt for me, but what I want for you all, lay that on your heart. What are the things that God has laid on your heart that is that big dream that makes your life, your family's life, this church, this community, more of the type of place that God wants it to be? That His will would be done in your sphere of influence as it is done in heaven. And those things come when we share these type of dreams with people who can get behind us and alongside of us to see that happen. So, here's your questions. I've got the 3 there. I think I'm probably going to add one. So, how has what funds changed over your adult life or pre-adult life? Glad you guys are here. What stuck things have we ignored that merit our attention? Like, is something stuck in my life and I've just been dealing with it that, like, I should just say, this feels like it's a rut, and help me be creative about it. In the upcoming season of life, what next thing is most important to you? And then the other question I'll give you is, if you think about these 7 questions, think of them like spokes on a wheel. Okay, so you got tree roots, that's what we use in the book. For the moment, I want you to think spokes on a wheel. And if you just think about your collection of friendships, and not every friendship is going to be strong in the same area as the others, but if you look over your friendship as a whole, where is your tire flat? Like, which of these is the most neglected question? Or 2 questions that if you said, I just want my sphere of relationships to be proportional, which I think is important, as we move to making them a larger and larger wheel moving towards level 35 or depth, that kind of thing. Which one of these would I need to be most intentional with? So those are your questions. Talk amongst yourself.